My name is Joseph. This is Spoiled Anime, and with me is...
My name is Adam.
And we are reviewing Akira.
Yes, and Akira, according to IMDb, is a movie about a secret military project that endangers Neo Tokyo when it turns a biker gang member into a rampaging psionic psychopath that only two kids and a group of psionics can stop. So, yeah.
Now, we
I,
did watch this in the very beginning of our kind of descent into anime, so I do recall this from then, and I actually just watched the English version, which I know pisses you off.
it's not that's not the English one. It's the digitally remastered one. Yeah, I've only honestly I've only watched. This is also another one I've only watched once in Japanese, but the other times I watched it were because there's two different versions out there. There's the original audio track, and then they redid it. They digitally remastered it, but when they remastered it, they also redid all the voice actors, and I hate it. I hate the new voice actors, the way they say people's names, some of the different characters. But yeah, but I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, Akira visually and story, it's a masterpiece of anime. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. In my opinion, it's a there's a few of them out there. If you consider yourself getting into anime and you want to see like the good ones, this is one of them. It needs to be watched.
Here's the thing. I remember watching it and liking it. I watched it the second time. I think because I remembered what was happening and my attention span, I don't know, is maybe not what it used to be. Um, I found myself actually losing a bit of interest towards the middle, and then of course, when everything starts happening, I caught back up, and all of a sudden I was like enthralled again. But there was like this what felt like a lengthened part where I just kind of was like, okay, get on with it. But actually, I should say quickly, um, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And now we're gonna spoil it, so that way we can start kind of breaking into the reasons why.
Yes, and for me, I'd also say go watch it. If you can, try and get the old audio track version. Otherwise, it's still worth watching, but you might not like it as much.
Yeah,
At least I didn't like it as much.
you may not, they may not notice it because to them the names they'll be like, oh okay, and they'll just go with it. But when we
Yeah,
hear
that's
the
true.
names, it just doesn't sound right. Um,
True. That's true.
so you've got the biker gang, you got the
Hmm.
gang of bikers that is the group you're following.
Hmm.
Um, and by at any point, if you're thinking the main character is Akira, you would be wrong.
No,
So
oh no. Yeah, Akira's just kind of this. He's a character. Like we said before in our earlier animes, it says that we're just reviewing the movie, not the manga that goes with it. Because I know for a fact, because read a few of them, that the manga gets way more into who Akira is, and he actually becomes an actual character, not just a person mentioned in the past like it is in the movie.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so, but I mean, he's basically a super psionic at one point, and yeah, I guess that essentially it was a government project that kind of went screwy. Um, but they don't fully get into what exactly he did or in the movie, but
Yeah, not really.
it's kind of just hinted at.
Yeah, he's kind of touched upon, but he's never really
Yeah,
explored.
instead the main characters you have really are Kaneda, or in the newer remastered version, Canada, which God damn it, I hate that. But then you have and in Tetsuo, those are the two real main characters of the story. Tetsuo, I guess, gets during one of their little fights gets picked up by the government and gets turned into a psionic. I don't know exactly. They don't
Yeah,
really
they really
get
don't touch on it. Just the fact that they were messing around with his brain is essentially.
yeah, and then he kind of goes ape shit and loses his nut and kind of realizes, oh, I'm a psionic and I can do whatever the shit I want, and he just wreaks havoc upon the city. They try and shoot him with a tank round, and he just stops it in the air and blows shit up.
Yeah, and then at that point, everybody's thinking he's Akira, and they're all calling him Lord Akira and following him, and he doesn't care whatsoever about them.
Yeah,
Like, I love the bridge one where essentially they're all following behind him in a parade, and like kind of like, oh yay, he's here, and then the military's there, and he doesn't care. He screws up the military, he screws them over, you know.
yeah. He's essentially just a walking force of like nature, just wrecking everything around him at that
Yeah,
point.
and like I guess the kind of the thing about it is he has always been in the shadow. Like for him, how he sees it, he's
Yeah,
always been protected, and
yeah. Kaneda's always been the leader of the group, and he's always been the front runner, the guy with the better bike, the guy who's he's the cool guy. I'm in and really in a lot of ways I don't know. Tetsuo was kind of this just like pansy character. Honestly, as a whole, I don't really feel too much like too much pity for him until really the end when he's when his power is kind of overwhelming him and he's kind of realizing the error of his ways. But otherwise, he's just kind of this pansy character. He's like, oh man, I wish I was a lot cooler, but I'm not. And I want to. I don't. It's not like you don't ever see him like trying really hard to be better or anything.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
just kind of thrown into this world where I'm just second best, but I wish I was better. And then suddenly he has all his power and he just abuses it.
Yeah, exactly. And the one time you're kind of like, oh, maybe because he gets the powers, he escapes the first time, he has a slight bit of power, and he's like, let's just get out of here. And you're like, oh, maybe he's gonna show like this kind of like bigger self, like he's slowly gonna, and then he steals the bike, and he tries to escape, and of course, what
Mm.
happens? The clowns who you see in the beginning, who they're kind of like they go up against, uh, just kind of take him and his girl, and beat the
Beat
crap
the
out of him.
crap out of him. Yeah. And then Canada always comes and saves the day.
Yeah. And then of course he's like, I could have handled it. It's like, oh, they're showing he has no humility whatsoever. It's like, now
Yeah.
that he's safe, now that everything's okay, he can swallow, or he can bolster out his pride and be like, I could have handled it. His girlfriend got punched in the face, and her nose is like bleeding, and her shirt is ripped, and he's still just like, nah, I could have handled it. It's like, okay, well, obviously we know what your character is going to be throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. He's just kind of this overwhelming, full of untested bravado. Like his bravado, he doesn't really deserve to be using because he doesn't have any reason to have that kind of uh, attitude. He should be humble, but he's not. But
Yeah, exactly. And then, then you've got, of course, the over oppressive military force, which, introduces the female character for the main character, kind of his interest. Because he does have another girl that kind of follows him, and he's like, don't be clingy. And then he straight out hits on the girl that has kind of that air of mystery and danger. And you kind of find out she's, like, resistance, essentially.
yeah, I think the let's see here the trying to remember what that chick was. It Kai or was Kai the girl? Yeah, that's Kai is the girl, right?
Yeah, Kai.
Or K.
K. Yeah.
Yeah, K. Yeah, she's the one he kind of like ditches his other girl for. He's like, all right, well, you're done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And the best part is, like, he comes and tries to save her, and then she shoots the other guy in the face. Like, in that, there's that one part where they're near the sewers, and she's running away to go back to wherever their little secret base is.
mm,
And he's like, "Oh, turn yourself in. I'll wait for you." It's like, dude, I don't think you put together yet that she is indeed the resistance, and they will probably kill her. But he kind
yeah,
of has that um, lackluster attitude where he's just like, everything will work out great. Like,
yeah. yeah, Kaneda's kind of, I mean, he's just running by the seat of his pants, kind of a, you know, he's gang, he's the gang leader, but, and he just kind of headstrong and does what he needs to do, but kind of always seems to, in a lot of ways that he, he's able to, with his little bit of skill he has, and in his,
An
he's just
actual rightful bravado, I think, is at that point.
yeah, yeah, he's the one who deserves to be kind of cocky because well, I mean, as a gang leader, he would have to be for one, but also he can back it up. He actually is able to kick some ass. You see him kick ass quite a few times, and rightfully being the main, the hero in a lot of ways of the stories, and he's I don't know. A thing I like about it, I like the overall kind of atmosphere of this movie. The cyberpunk. I think, I mean, it does good to say to that this movie did come out in the '88. So
Yeah, and it's 2016 in the movie, so
yeah,
we're actually not that far away from where it essentially is supposed to be.
yeah. So I mean, 1988. So the animation, in comparison to some newer stuff, you might be like, oh well, this isn't that good, but even compared to a lot of newer stuff that's out right now, in my opinion, this animation still holds up. I mean, some of the scenes are just really detailed, really graphic. The scene where the guy tries to stand down the military on the roadway, and then they just unload on him, and he just gets torn apart
Yeah,
by bullets. Like, even now, you go back and watch that scene, it's amazing to think that was like, it's all hand. It's not in the day like today when it could be CG
computer.
put
Yeah,
together. Like, this is all hand drawn animation, and it's intense.
yeah. Every hit, every jerk, that's essentially another frame being, hand
Yeah,
drawn,
yeah.
and though it does have a very, and I of course haven't looked it up, but it does have a very Dragon Ball Z look to it.
No, I mean,
Um,
it's.
so I get, but that was the art of the time, I think, too,
Hmm.
because I mean, when he wraps the freaking red, uh, um, it's like a cloak. It's not really a cloak. It's just essentially like a tapestry that he wraps around himself, like a
Hmm.
robe or kind of like a half robe. Um,
Well, I mean, and oh, we'll keep going.
oh well,
Right.
it just had that very look of Dragon Ball Z kind of thing, but he didn't go Super Saiyan on anybody, but
Well, I mean, I think that this. I mean, okay, so let's put it this way. So that movie came out in '88. Dragon Ball Z didn't start till 89. I think.
was it? I'm even unsure about that.
Yeah, and Dragon Ball. It might have been Dragon Ball, but I mean, Akira, in all things considered, for anime, it is, like I said, it is, in a lot of ways, the masterpiece. It is a
Yeah,
go-to. This is a very iconic piece. In a lot of other animes, I think in a lot of other shows in general, I think not just anime, I think in film and other places, you can see where they pull from this movie, where they pull from the imagery and feel of it, and to try and replicate same things into other shows. And because I mean, like I said, visually it's so well done. Um, I mean, just like when he in that opening scene when they get into their clown fight on the bikes. I mean, the action's really good, animation's really good, and then when he finally gets that big hit across, and you see and Kaneda does that power slide in his bike. I mean, how many other movies have we seen somebody do that on a motorcycle, the power slide, and then they kind of look back at the camera?
yep,
This was done in '88, and I can almost guarantee you, lots of other movies where you see that same power slide they're replicating that scene from this animated movie. I mean,
yeah, very true.
I, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a older motorcycle movie that this was replicating. But to me, whenever I see that scene, I think Akira. This is where that's the movie I picture. It's like, oh, that's a scene from Akira. But
Yep, very true. And no, but I mean, it does. It has a lot of very, and you see it play out too, like where the helicopters essentially are hovering over the people, and you got the light shining on them, and the essentially the ropes dropping down, and military coming out and surrounding them and taking out. I mean, it's very one of those things where you didn't see. I mean, you could do so much more in that kind of capacity because it's easier to draw than to get all those. Especially back then when CGI was
Uh,
near non-existent. You had to actually get that stuff.
yeah,
So
Japan. I mean, and I mean that was also why their animation is so good is because for them to make a movie, full big budget movie, to have those kind of things in it wasn't possible, and they just didn't have the space, they didn't have the money, so to have really good animation and still tell these really good stories and tell these, I mean, you put it if this was a movie, this would be a big blockbuster movie these days,
yeah,
and they were able to accomplish that same imagery in '88.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and it was very well done.
Hmm.
Um, So I mean, and at the end when you find out that Akira essentially had been pieced, completely dissected, essentially,
Hmm.
um, and he changes into the gigant. He starts, essentially
Blobbing out into this.
blobbing out. Yeah, I guess that's the best way, and it's taking control of him.
Yeah,
Um,
essentially essentially whatever was giving him his psionic power is starts overwhelming him and reshaping his whole body into existence, turning into this really consuming ball of, I don't even know how to word it, like it's like machine, because it starts absorbing everything around it, like machine and life, and he crushes the chick that he was having a little kind of a relationship with,
yeah,
crushes her to death. And then he just starts going, and essentially just the power just keeps growing and absorbing everything around it, turning this big mass of tissue and metal, and it's a pretty intense like little, that's into some intense animation as well, just the how well they did that, of this big kind of scary blob and massive, you know.
yeah, machine and flesh and essentially, all the three, other people that had been altered, like knowing what was going to occur and like essentially trying to look for a better outcome and then essentially calling forth Akira to take him to the next whatever to the next plane of existence or to somewhere to another universe who knows where they take him um,
Yeah.
and I'm sure someone will write down somewhere where the manga actually says where they went or who knows what. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And
but
I mean, and I've heard it is really good. And because I mean, not only, I mean, granted, Akira, the movie, like I said, I think it's fantastic. It's a really enjoyable watch, really good animation, but it does leave you with some gigantic questions where you're like, what is happening here? Like,
exactly.
what's going on? And from what I've heard, the manga really gets into that. It really does um, dig a little deeper into, uh, digs a little deeper into
What happened and
what
what occurred.
happens, who Akira is, what experiments went down, and Tetsuo at one point is, I believe, kind of like Akira's minion, running around doing stuff. But that's just kind of what I got from the imagery, but I could be way off on there. But it's a really good one, and from there, I just like I said at the beginning, the first version, the original English and voiceover, I thoroughly enjoy. The second one, which just sounds like that's the one you watched today. I don't know. When they call Canada, I just keep thinking, of Canada every time they say his name, and I'm like, why? Why are they calling him? That was one thing that bugged me really bad. I think they still called him Tetsuo. They didn't jack his name up too
No,
bad.
his name was, I think, actually correct.
But and then the other one was the three other little psionic kids who kind of help out. Um, there's the little chubby fat one who kind of floats around in his chair.
Yeah.
Um, in the newer version, so For you, you probably just saw him have just like a normal kind of voice where, he says whatever he's doing.
Yeah, but I do remember he had
But
that.
and the old one, he had this like really deep, like, we normally aren't meant to exist in the outside world. And like, to me, it fit that character really well.
Yeah, that look of them.
Like, it's just this kind of really kind of, struggling to talk almost voice. And just to go from, we normally aren't meant to exist in the outside world to, we normally aren't meant to exist in the outside world. It just didn't fit to
Yeah.
me. And I was like, man, they jacked it all up. Like, to me, like, it just, it changes the way the some of those scenes felt to me. But, I mean, the remastered visuals are way awesome. They kind of cleaned it up a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
But overall, still highly suggested. This is still one of the ones I suggest. One of the good, like, older animes that I suggest to people. Like some people want to see anime, they usually lean towards the newer ones these days.
Yeah.
But still, this is one I say, like, if you consider yourself an anime fan and you haven't seen it, you should probably watch this. This is worth watching.
Exactly. And actually, on that note, I think the next one we should watch is actually Fatal Fury.
Oh, sure. Which one?
I don't know. Do you want to go? Do you want to hit them all together, or do you want to do breakdown by 1, 2, and then the movie?
Yeah, we could do like a little longer one and just kind of hit the, I mean, 1, 2 in the movie. They're essentially 3 movies. But.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Yes.
essentially, there's no show. It's just movie, but they call them by number.
Yeah, this kind of just we'll plan on doing a little extended one and hit all 3 of them.
Yeah, I think that would be good because I think that is another one that was essentially like you're talking. More people are always are looking towards what is newer. That's a very old school one. I still have the original trilogy on tape because one, I have the box set, and I think it was probably one of the second things I bought, and I know we just watched the crap out of it in between.
I'm surprised those tapes still work with as many times as we watched the.
I know, yeah, it's the original set. I have not bought them on DVD yet because every once in a while I still have my tape player, so every once in a while I'll just pop them in still. But yeah, they got the heck watched out of them. I'm surprised they do still work.
So we go. So next time we'll go over the adventures of Terry Bogard fighting Geese Howard, Krauser, and
Mars, God of War, yeah. Armor of Mars, but
yes.
So yeah, and definitely, I think everybody will enjoy it. And if they haven't seen it, heck, go out and watch it without us, and then come listen to us
and
talk about it and reminisce.
And I promise you, we'll get to one of these days that one of us will say that we don't want to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's coming up. I think there will be one that we'll hit that is just one of us doesn't like. But we're reminiscing now, and we're getting a little bit, so you have to bear with us. So, as usual, check out the description for what Adam is doing, check the description for what I'm doing, and thank you for joining us for about a half an hour. And, again, subscribe, and thank you very much. All right, we're out.
Thank you, everybody.